7. Habits of highly effective philosophers to master critical thinking. How many decisions have you already made today? From the small stuff, like what to eat for lunch, to the huge ones, like the career you choose to pursue. Now, how many of those decisions felt truly conscious, and how many were just autopilot? Let's be honest, most of us were never taught how to think. We were taught what to think. We memorized facts and dates, but the actual skill of reasoning, of questioning, of really analyzing things, that was mostly left up to us. This leaves us open to our own hidden biases, to the flood of misinformation we see online, and to making emotional decisions that we regret later. It's like being handed the keys to a high-performance car without a single driving lesson. Sure, you might get somewhere, but the ride is going to be bumpy, inefficient, and you're probably going to crash. But what if you could change that? What if you could learn the secrets of the world's greatest thinkers? What if you could borrow the habits of history's most effective philosophers to truly master the art of critical thinking? That's what I'm going to find out. For the next few weeks, I'm going to adopt 7 of their core habits to see if I can genuinely transform the way I think. And you're coming with me. I want to challenge my own biases, cut through the noise, and learn to make smarter, clearer decisions in my own life. Let's get started. So, where do we even begin? Let's start with this foundational idea. Critical thinking isn't some magical talent you're born with, it's a skill. Even better, it's a collection of habits, mental routines that you can learn and strengthen with practice. This isn't a new idea. The ancient Greek philosophers knew it well. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle taught that to really understand the world, you have to look past the surface of things, and that requires a trained mind. They understood that our natural instincts can often trick us into believing things that feel comfortable but simply aren't true. This journey is about building a mental toolkit to help you navigate life with more clarity and confidence. And it all starts with the first, and maybe most important, habit. Habit 1. Question everything, especially your own assumptions. The first habit, the foundation for everything else, is to question your assumptions. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living," and at the very heart of that examination is a relentless questioning of what we believe to be true. We all carry around a set of invisible assumptions that color the way we see everything. We assume our perspective is the only one, that our gut feelings are facts, and that our strongest beliefs are built on pure logic. Effective thinkers, on the other hand, treat their own minds like a crime scene. Every belief, every assumption is a suspect until it's been proven innocent. They cultivate what the philosopher Francis Bacon called a patience to doubt. This isn't about being negative or cynical just for the sake of it. It's about intellectual humility. It's the willingness to look at one of your own ideas and say, "You know what? I might be wrong about this." I have to be honest, when I started practicing this, it was deeply uncomfortable. I started by taking a strong belief I hold, say, about a political issue, and writing it down. Then I forced myself to list every single assumption propping that belief up. Why do I trust the sources that feed me this information? What personal experiences have shaped this view? What would need to be true for me to be completely wrong? It was a humbling exercise. I realized that a lot of my so-called logical conclusions were actually built on a shaky foundation of emotional reactions and what I'd absorbed from people around me. Practicing this means you actively try to prove yourself wrong. You poke holes in your own arguments until only the strongest, most rational version is left standing. This is what saves you from getting stuck in your own head and opens the door to real growth. It's the art of knowing the difference between what you actually know and what you just think you know. So ask yourself, what is one belief you hold that you've never really challenged? Start there. Habit 2. Seek out diverse and opposing viewpoints. This second habit is the natural next step. To escape the prison of your own assumptions, you have to actively seek out different and opposing views. We all live in an echo chamber. Social media algorithms and our own social circles tend to feed us a constant diet of what we already believe. A truly effective thinker knows this is a trap and works deliberately to escape it. This means reading things that challenge your worldview. It means listening to people you disagree with, not to argue with them, but to genuinely understand where they're coming from. The legendary investor Charlie Munger, a master of critical thinking, once said, "I never allow myself to have an opinion on anything that I don't know the other side's argument better than they do." That's the heart of this habit. It's not about giving up your values, but about making them stronger by testing them against the best possible opposition. In my own experiment, I made a real effort to break out of my media bubble. I started following writers and publications from all over the political map. I watched debates on topics where I thought my mind was already made up. At first, it was infuriating. My brain instinctively wanted to find fault and argue back. But over time, something shifted. I started noticing the nuances I'd been missing. I began to see that complex problems rarely have simple, one-sided answers. My own views became clearer and more resilient because they'd been tested in the fire of disagreement, not coddled in the comfort of agreement. Here's a great exercise. Take an issue you feel passionate about and try to write a short essay defending the opposite position. And don't just create a weak strawman version of the argument. Make the strongest, most persuasive case you possibly can. This forces you to see the world through a different lens, which is a vital skill for clear thinking. Habit 3. Practice the art of active listening. Our third habit is a cornerstone of real communication, but it's one of the most neglected skills in our modern world. Active listening. We often confuse hearing with listening. Most of the time, when someone else is talking, we aren't truly listening to understand them. We're listening to reply. We're busy thinking up our next point or silently judging what they're saying. Philosophical dialogue, especially the Socratic method, is built on the exact opposite idea. It's a cooperative search for a deeper truth. And that's impossible if you don't first understand what the other person is actually saying. Active listening means giving the speaker your full attention, their words, their tone, their body language. It means putting your own judgment on hold and resisting that powerful urge to interrupt. A powerful technique I've been practicing is to rephrase the other person's point before I respond. I'll say something like, "So, just to make sure I'm getting this, what you're saying is, this does two incredible things. First, it confirms that I've actually understood them, which stops miscommunication in its tracks. Second, it shows the other person they've been heard and respected. This immediately lowers their defenses and creates a space for a real conversation. This habit will transform every area of your life, from work negotiations to personal relationships. When you truly listen, you gather more information, you build empathy, and you make your own arguments so much better because you're responding to what was actually said, not what you thought was said. In a world full of noise where everyone is shouting to be heard, the person who masters listening has a quiet superpower. Habit 4. Analyze arguments and deconstruct the evidence. Okay, habit 4 is where we get into the nuts and bolts of logic. An effective philosopher doesn't just accept a claim because it sounds good. They take it apart to see how it works. They learn to analyze arguments, judge the quality of evidence, and spot logical fallacies. In philosophy, An argument isn't a shouting match. It's just a conclusion supported by a set of statements or premises. The critical thinker's job is to figure out if those premises are true and if they actually lead to that conclusion. This means becoming a student of logic. You learn to spot common tricks, like the ad hominem attack, where someone insults the person instead of their argument, or the straw man, where they misrepresent an argument to make it easier to knock down. You learn to tell the difference between correlation and causation. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one caused the other. You become skeptical of big claims that have no real evidence to back them up. To practice this, I started treating articles and opinion pieces like puzzles. I began argument mapping, where you literally draw out the structure of an argument. You identify the main conclusion, then trace back the premises that support it and the evidence supporting those premises. This process makes weak spots jump right out at you. Is a premise just an unsupported opinion? Is the evidence even relevant? Does the conclusion actually make sense? This habit is your best defense against manipulation. In a world filled with advertising, political spin, and online rhetoric, being able to deconstruct an argument is essential for your own intellectual freedom. It trains your mind to see the structure hiding beneath the surface and to build your own beliefs on a solid foundation of reason. Habit 5. Recognize and manage your emotions. This fifth habit might sound like the opposite of logic, but it's absolutely essential: learning to recognize and manage your emotions. Philosophers, especially the Stoics, knew that unchecked emotions are the enemy of clear thinking. Plato used a powerful metaphor of a charioteer driving two horses. One horse is reason, and the other represents our raw emotions and appetites. The charioteer's job is to hold the reins and guide both horses forward together, keeping emotion and reason in balance. This doesn't mean you should suppress your feelings or become a robot. It means understanding that emotions like anger, fear, or even tribal loyalty can cloud your judgment. A critical thinker gets into the habit of taking a step back from a strong emotional reaction to look at a situation clearly. They ask themselves, am I feeling this way because of the facts? Or is it because my ego feels bruised? Or because this idea challenges a belief I really care about? The Stoics gave us a practical tool for this: the dichotomy of control. It's about separating what you can control from what you can't. You can't control what happens out in the world, but you can control your judgment about it. By focusing on your own internal response, you can avoid being hijacked by pointless anger or anxiety over things you can't change. During this experiment, I started a simple practice. When I felt a strong emotional reaction to something, a frustrating email, a news headline, I wouldn't react right away. I'd pause, take a breath, and just notice what I was feeling and what belief was causing it. That tiny pause creates a space between the impulse and your action. It gives your rational mind a chance to catch up with your emotional one. By doing this, you become less reactive and a much clearer thinker. Habit 6. Consider the long-term consequences. The sixth habit is about expanding your sense of time. We live in a world that conditions us to think short-term. We want instant results and quick fixes. But this often leads to decisions that feel good right now, but create much bigger problems later. An effective philosopher cultivates the habit of thinking about second, third, and fourth-order consequences. They don't just ask, what will happen immediately if I do this? They keep asking, and then what? And what happens after that? This is the difference between just patching a problem and creating a real solution. Think about a company that slashes its customer service budget to make its quarterly profits look better. The immediate result is positive. lower costs. But the second-order consequence is longer wait times and angry customers. The third-order consequence, a damaged reputation and customers leaving for competitors, which ultimately destroys profits in the long run. I started applying this in my own life, using a powerful mental tool called inversion. Instead of only thinking about how to achieve a goal, you flip it upside down and think about what would guarantee failure. For example, if my goal is to be more productive, I'd ask, what would I have to do to have the most unproductive day possible? The answers are easy. Don't get enough sleep, scroll social media all morning, eat junk food, and have no plan. By simply identifying and avoiding those things, you naturally steer yourself towards success. This habit forces you to think about the unintended consequences. When you're looking at a new idea or policy, you don't just focus on the intended benefits. You actively brainstorm how it could go wrong. Who might be hurt by this? How could this be abused? This kind of long-term thinking requires patience, but it's one of the most powerful habits for making wise decisions. Habit 7. Be willing to change your mind. And that brings us to our final habit, which connects back to the very beginning, having the courage and flexibility to change your mind. In our culture, changing your mind is often seen as a weakness. We praise people for sticking to their guns, but for a true thinker, the goal isn't to be right. The goal is to get it right. And getting it right sometimes means admitting that what you used to believe was wrong. This habit is the ultimate sign of intellectual humility. It means detaching your identity from your opinions. Your beliefs are not you, they are hypotheses. And like any good scientist, you should be ready to discard a hypothesis when it's confronted with better evidence or a stronger argument. For me, this has been the most liberating part of the entire journey. I went into this with a set of beliefs I considered a core part of who I was. But by practicing these habits, by questioning my assumptions, seeking out different views, listening, analyzing, managing my emotions, and thinking long-term, I found that some of those beliefs started to crumble. And it wasn't painful. It was freeing. It felt like upgrading my mental software. Being willing to change your mind doesn't mean you're wishy-washy. It means your beliefs are earned, not just inherited. It means you are more committed to the truth than to your ego. It is the mark of a confident and mature thinker who is always learning, always growing, and always getting a little closer to understanding the world. This journey of adopting these 7 habits has been challenging but more rewarding than I could have imagined. It's an ongoing practice like a mental gym where you have to keep putting in the reps to see results. If this exploration of thinking more clearly resonated with you and you want more content like this, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And now, I have a question for you. Which of these 7 habits do you find the most challenging? And which one are you going to try to practice this week? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear about your experiences and start a real conversation. Conclusion. So there you have it. The 7 habits of highly effective philosophers. Question your assumptions, seek diverse viewpoints, practice active listening, analyze arguments, manage your emotions, consider the long-term consequences, and be willing to change your mind. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are practical tools you can start using today to make better decisions, solve problems more effectively, and defend yourself against misinformation. Adopting these habits isn't easy. It takes conscious effort, discipline, and a big dose of humility. But the payoff is immeasurable. You gain clarity in a world of confusion, confidence in your own judgment, and the intellectual freedom to think for yourself. My journey is far from over, but one thing is already crystal clear. Mastering the art of critical thinking is one of the most empowering skills you can ever build. Thank you for watching. Now go and think well.